Hello, hello, people. Welcome back to the ICU HBCU podcast. I am your host, Keyshawn McMiller, and we got another good one for you here today. This is another one of my very good friends, former classmates, and hey, another brother, Trey Gates. What's going on, man?
Nothing but Steve Sean, what's good with you? Happy to be a part of the podcast this evening. I'm looking forward to today, this evening discussion, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So
Likewise,
let's get
man.
it.
Hey, let's get it. No further ado. So, right, similar line of questions. As you guys know, whether you are listening or watching, we are here to highlight the experiences of HBCU affiliated persons, and Trey, my brother Trey, is no stranger to the HBCU scene. Trey, can you start off by just telling the viewers and or listeners a little bit of a general overview, if you will, of your HBCU experience? That is, where did you go? What did you major in? And anything else that relates to the general side of things.
This goes back to undergrad days and the whole intro, but I got you. Um,
Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trey Gates. I am a class of 2020 graduate of Morehouse College. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My major was psychology. So I had the pleasure and experience to grace the campus of Morehouse College, from the Zero Hall to the Suites to Dansby Hall, and that's where I started my journey into my undergrad up into my current experience. So that's a little bit about me.
Love that, man. You speak so eloquently, right, of Morehouse and of Morehouse College, and I'm sure that those who are or were affiliated with the school would be able to recognize some of the particular names that you just dropped in your intro there. Was Morehouse always on your radar in terms of where you wanted to go after high school? Was it something that just randomly came up? How did that come about?
I'll say Morehouse was not exactly at the top of my radar, and I was on the search for an undergrad institution. I'll be frank. I was always encouraged to pursue HBCU as a undergrad experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was eager to get out of the state during my search for undergrad experience, such as I think my top one, once upon a time, was actually ski. And I say
Mm.
ski because I felt like it was close but far enough away from home where I could at least, drive 2 hours back home and then still be able to, have that independence that, us young folks look for. We pursue
Mm-hmm.
an undergrad experience. I say that to say Tuskegee kind of drew me to it from a high school tour I took when I was in 10th grade. And it didn't pan out because, now I can say I'm a proud Morehouse man.
Yeah.
But needless to say, I'm glad I made my decision to go the direction of Morehouse. Actually, high school counselors
Mm.
who listening to this, named Mr. Patrick Greenway, kind of encouraged me to push for Morehouse. And a couple of my college counselors, Miss Allen as well, pushed me, encouraged me rather to go to Morehouse, but just try. I figured that Morehouse had such a prestige, such a history, such a legacy. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't known too many people who went to Morehouse at the time, but I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. And so in 2016, I believe I put in my application through
Mm-hmm.
the how their college app website was. I put my application in, you know, I got the invitation to Mid Student Weekend, and the rest is
Mm.
history. And now I am to tell the story to say, everything didn't go according to plan, but I was happy to make the necessary decision to go ahead and follow through with my decision to pursue Morehouse College and become a Morehouse man.
Mm. Okay, no, that's interesting. So, just for context for those who either may have seen episode two or forgot, or maybe just don't know what I'm talking about with episode two, we spoke with uh, Christian Edwards, who also attended Morehouse. And of course, you and I both know we're both connected with Christian in a few different ways, but he
Mm-hmm.
shared with viewers and listeners that Morehouse was his first and only choice. So to hear right? You're right. A different story in that Morehouse. Although you were interested in going to an HBCU, right, in
Mm-hmm.
Tuskegee University, Morehouse was not your number one choice. And just for the viewers, right, you talked about wanting to stay closer to home. You are Georgia native, is that right?
That is correct. I am a Georgia native. I'm an ATA community mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So from the southwest Atlanta where my house is located. So I figured being well, I guess I'll say figuring out that being far away enough from home
Mm-hmm.
was at least from my home in Georgia, it's probably 20 minutes. So that was far enough for me at the time where I said, I got accepted to Morehouse. I said, it's far enough. If I need to, do some laundry on the side, I got the home, and a lot of my relatives lived in the city because I was from the city.
Yeah.
So Morehouse was a no-brainer once I settled to the idea of being far enough away from home.
No, for sure, man. Look, for those that have watched episode one, I gotta reference the previous episodes and go watch those previous episodes. In episode one, I shared my story, and I first started off at Bethune-Cookman University, and I too had some family members there. And man, if you are fortunate enough to have a already built community before you even get to the school, it really does make life a whole lot easier in terms of just connections and support, right? And so it sounds like you had um, a similar um, a similar support system, right?
Mhm.
Where you knew people already. Of course, like you said, you were born and raised in the area, so you weren't necessarily a stranger once you got admitted to and started to attend Morehouse. Can you talk a little bit about that communal aspect? So when you got admitted, what were the reactions of your family? Were they proud of that or excited? What did you take from um, their reactions?
I can tell you it did hit different for sure,
Mm,
especially looking at it from the external with my
mm,
family and internal, my perspective. Internally, it felt great, you know, externally as well from family and other supports and friends, but it did get down to that point where there was like a standard that was set for me, you know.
mm,
I was gonna go to Morehouse and I was gonna do all these great things, and I'm just like, here I am, as Morehouse talks about, young, matriculated through the process to one day be able to wear the crown um, and stand alongside giants that have completed the process or matriculated through Morehouse.
mm,
And it felt nerve wracking. I'm not gonna lie. To think that, I'm gonna start this new journey. There are so many people that I probably have to probably measure up to or compare myself to. At the time, I thought I would have to compare myself to like Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesse Samuel L.
mm,
Jackson, Spike Lee, so on and so forth. And I'm just looking at myself like it felt great in the beginning, but there was a sense of imposter syndrome, I guess,
mm,
developing in that beginning. And I'll be honest with you, before I even graced the campus, I'm just like, it kind of existed because it's just like, family was saying all these things, like, you're going to do all this stuff, and and my grandson, my great grandmother, my grandson, and Trey's going to do this, and I am endearingly to some people known as Treybo, so Treybo's going to do this, and I'm just like, all these people are putting, me up on this pedestal, and nothing wrong
mm,
with it. But at the same token, it really goes to show how support can be a double-edged sword when it comes
mm,
to these situations, such as entering new spaces. But all this to say, it really felt like I would say it was a mixed reaction. It was a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of excitement, So I'm gonna say half and half. We can bottle it up. Half anxiety, half excitement. But at
Okay.
the same time, it still felt good to know that at least I had something to look forward to, and I knew for a fact that whatever I did, it was going to be something great. It didn't have to be the biggest thing. It could be just walking across the stage at some point
Mm,
during my Morehouse career. But I just knew for a moment, and in that moment, that at least I can pursue something greater than what I had pursued for my high school career. So it felt
mm,
like a mix, a little bit of everything, and that's how it hit. It hit very much different. I don't. I'm not to say I haven't experienced this feeling before, and I haven't
mm,
continued to feel experience this feeling in other spaces, but it definitely get different because it put anticipation, anxiety, in one experience. I'm just like, what do I do next? But here I am to
mm.
tell the story.
Yeah, here you are. Steve Harvey always says, he says, think about the worst time, and we're not saying this is the worst time of your life. I'm sure you had many great moments, but right, Steve Harvey always says, oh, think about the worst time that you've ever had in your life, and the reason we can think about it is because we've made it through. And so, right, you've made it through that, right, that ball of anxiety and even excitement. I'm curious to know, as we kind of talk about community and family,
Mm,
were you the first person in your family to attend either Morehouse or an HBCU in general? And possibly could that be where some of the because ultimately, right, you talk about this pressure not just
mm.
from your family and community, but there was also pressure of living up to the legacy of Morehouse. And you spoke about some of the more notable grads in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s and Samuel L. Jackson's and Spike Lee's of the world. Were you the first person to go to an HBCU?
Actually, I was one of three.
Hmm.
I was number three. It's funny. My name is Trey, and I was the third to go to the HBCU in my family.
How about
Out of my
that?
siblings, my brother went to Howard. My
Okay.
sister went to Clark. And so, as far as their experiences, because their experience was very much different from mine, I
Hmm.
recognize my experience hit a little different in the sense that my folks, I had two siblings ahead of me, and it was kind of like I had to figure out how to pay for school. Not to say that I was in a money crunch, mission impossible situation,
Hmm.
but it was one of those things where I had to be like very like on my shit. Like if I made, as I got to Morehouse, I learned it was money everywhere. In a
Hmm.
sense, and financial aid is always gonna be financial aid, and so I did grab some scholarships, and that's what kind of pushed me to say, you know what, as being the third person to grace HBCU campus and out of my siblings,
Hmm.
um, I recognize that, in those spaces, the pressure was really on because it's like, yeah, I'm in the school, I made it, but now how am I going to maintain this
Hmm.
position? Or, how am I going to maintain this experience? Because, any experience can be swiped right from under you if you don't
Yeah.
have the right tools. So when I thought about it, I'm just like, yeah, I'm the third one going to HBCU. How am I going to stick like snow? And it's funny I say it's like snow coming in Michigan now, but how am I going to make this really work? In other words, and
Yeah.
so that's what I got into the mindset of, like, being the third out of my siblings. To just go to HBCU, it kind of meant a little bit more. That's why I said the imposter syndrome. I'm just like, yeah, I got this. But my parents, they took out loans for my older siblings. So it's just like,
Hmm.
do I make the finances, work in my favor, work in their favor, and how do I consider that? So, and on top of being a student or being a new student to HBCU life, it was like an idea. Well, it was more so of a mission in the sense where I had to have agency to say, you know what, I can go ahead and pursue this experience, but I
Hmm.
also have to be very cognizant of the fact that, I have to make sure I got my money together. Like, if I ain't got this money together, this experience we snatch right money.
Hmm.
And so that's what kind of pushed me recognizing, knowing that, the older siblings did it, but also money. my folks, yes, I'm lucky to say that I'm not born with a silver spoon, but my folks were able to, maintain finances, assist me in that sense. But I definitely had to make some things shake. So you name it, I put myself out there to try different things. We
Mm,
talk about RA, we talk about what do you call that, work study. So I was definitely in those positions or in the rooms where they had the meetings of interest to keep
hmm.
myself afloat in that experience.
Okay, for sure, you
Yeah,
did what you had to do, and
yeah.
this is a good segue, Trey, because
Mm.
right now you applied, you've been admitted, and so right now you're on the campus of Morehouse College. And you're right, you fast forwarded a little bit talking about some of what you went through to just stay afloat financially, in particular with work study and RAing. And I'm sure those have afforded some even broader opportunities. But let's rewind a little bit to some
Oh,
of your first days, or even your first day and first few weeks at Morehouse. What were those like?
cool, cool. So I can probably take you back to the middle student weekend if you don't one. I can take it
Sure.
back. Um, the middle student weekend, I kid you not, it's like you enter this space. Um, and to be frank, it was my first time on Morehouse campus during a middle student weekend. I had did a
Okay.
program way back in middle school, no, elementary school. I was in fifth grade. It's called Project Identity.
Hmm.
And just to be back on Morehouse College campus, just to see so many different people in so many spaces, the tour, they have ambassadors. And
Hmm.
everybody kind of talks and stuff. I'm just like, it's kind of like, I'm like, it's like a cult, or it's just like, it's,
What do you,
it's
can you say more about that? Because
so if
Christian
you,
Christian said something similar. Say more. He didn't use the word cult, but I'm just curious. Can you say
I'll
more
be
about that?
frank, this is no Harvard, no Skull and Bones
Sure, sure.
situation. But to be very frank, when I got there, I'm just like, everybody wears maroon, everybody talks in it's this oratorical voice where it's just like, I'm a man of Morehouse, and it kind of sounds like everything they say sounds like a speech, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
what's in the water? So I think to myself, what am I doing? And as my brother and I were walking through the campus, like I'm like Charlie the chocolate factory. I'm like, oh my god, like what's the chocolate block look like? Anyways, not to
Hmm.
go too far in that, but kid you not, you walk on the Wiles campus and you just say, you see these folks, they dress similar. Some folks are wearing suits, some people are dressed, in their natural clothing, attire. And it's
Hmm.
kind of like a very, and then you call it like a principle, like very much mixed cultures, mixed ideas. But the thing about it is, everybody seems to be their own person, and so that's what kind
Hmm.
of pushed me to pursuing like different things as we talk about that made a student weekend. Just the fact of being able to tour, like I believe at the time Graves Hall, then being able to sit in like a classroom in Dansby. Dansby
Hmm.
is our building where you'll see like psychology, mathematics, uh, and I think sometimes some computer classes.
Okay.
Don't quote me. But as we talk about experiencing of them, just like okay, maybe I can get into this one deeper. At the time, fast forward, I got an opportunity. They sent me an opportunity to pursue like a summer program. So prior to actually entering in 2017 in
Hmm.
August, I started this summer program in I would say late June, entering July. And I'm meeting these fellow Morehouse brothers of mine, where we're into these different STEM fields, where it's engineering, it's psychology, it's what else we talking, computer science, so on and so forth. I'm just like, this is like, I'm thinking that I was talented and gifted in high school. I'm like, this is like the top.
Hmm.
Before we actually enter Morehouse, these are the top people that I should be around. And the kid you not, I meet all these good folks, these good brothers. Everybody, we started this program, we're doing STEM projects. And I say to myself, this school has a lot to offer. Not only am I
Hmm.
seeing these fellow great brothers doing these great things, doing
Hmm.
these STEM projects that we had to do a pre-pay for in the summer, but I'm also seeing other programs being offered. So like younger younger populations. Like I'm seeing a Chick-fil-A summer camp program. I'm seeing a program for folks who, like a summer bridge program where people can, work on these classes or work on the academics to improve, their academics to pursue more alpha. I'm just like, I'm seeing so much opportunity. I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm seeing Morehouse and that's the clearest light. Maybe I need to clear my lens a little bit to say, you know what, Morehouse is a land of opportunity. And so
Mm.
from that program, it's called Missa. I went ahead and started, in August, moved into Brazil House. And then things kind of got funny because I'm just like, I didn't know that first week. You hear the stories about, folks wearing suits and things like that. But I didn't know I was going to be wearing my church clothes that whole first week. I kid you not, I wasn't church going as frequent at the time. So I'm just like, I'm calling my parents like, I need this white collared shirt for this day.
Yeah.
If it's not white, then it's not right. And I need a tie. I need all these things out of my closet. So I tell them all the dress clothes. And thank God my grandma very like chill with that sense of very much giving.
Thank you,
Where she
Grandma.
knew people like, yes, thank you. Shout out to Kelly and Gates. She had me very much set as far as like your clothing. And yes, they were hand me down, but I definitely appreciate it because they helped me really work on that idea of my Morehouse image.
Mm.
And so that week, every day I'm in church clothes, whether it's khakis, dress pants, dresser, I'm wearing some tie. I'm getting more immersed in this culture, just like, am I being changed for the good, for the better, for the worse?
Mm.
Anyways, it felt good to know that I could at least dress like I was going somewhere and I could feel more comfortable about wearing these church clothes on days other than Sunday.
Mm.
Um, and so needless to say, getting on that campus, you hear all these stories, things like, you don't want to do this, you don't want to say this, as far as, you don't want to come off as lacking in confidence. At Morehouse that first week, during new student orientation, and that's all he called it, it was like one of those experiences where you take a moment to say, is this what I want? And if this is what I want, how am I going to maintain my health and well-being of this success that I'm trying to develop as far
Mm.
as in this space? Morehouse, don't get me wrong, it gives me very much X-Men vibes in the sense where it's like everybody's exceptional, extraordinary, and more sense than one. But
Mm.
there's also lurking around the corner some elements, so I would say some enemies that can definitely be somewhat life changing. And I say in the sense that yes, Morehouse is very great, but this is Atlanta. Like in Atlanta, you don't go to Atlanta without experiencing Atlanta. Like Atlanta has so many distractions, and that's what I'm talking about. These enemy elements that they don't always tell you about in the pamphlets. They don't tell you about this in the tours. And so there's so many ways to get immersed into the Atlanta culture. And I'm
Mm.
being from Atlanta. I'm just like I didn't think
That
you were
you
gonna protect
know.
me. I said I knew, but I didn't.
Okay.
And I learned the hard way. I kid you not. Started Morehouse College as a physics dual degree major August 2017. October 2017, I'm turning the age of 19, just turned 19. I got a
Mm.
44 in calculus, and I'm just like to myself, oh my gosh,
Mm.
I'm falling short. The dream becoming just a dream. It's not becoming the vision I want to come to fruition. And as I'm thinking to myself, I'm just like, I had to have a come to Jesus moment. It's like, I'm coming to Morehouse thinking in the beginning, I'm going to be the next Dwayne Wade, and I'm going to go ahead and find my Whitney, and I'm going to have a different world experience. What did I know that I was going to change my major from physics to psychology? That right at the
Mm.
same time, I'm still working and doing working in work study as in the physics department, and then I'm being
Mm.
told, if I change my major to psychology next semester, that might mean I'm out of a job possibly. And so all of these things considered, I'm just like, it's the dream is becoming a nightmare
Mm.
for these elements. But needless to say, I found my rhythm. I turned to 44 until 75. That's the power of, belief support systems. I hit study
Mm.
sessions. I mean, can utilize my resources, remember who I can talk to. I'm with the RA in my building, your house,
Yeah.
and like, how do I make, how do I improve this? At the same token, it's a lot of pressure building on from the side of myself. I can't really drop the ball. And not to say that I would like to drop the ball, but yeah, I got tired along the way. And then trying to balance out this lifestyle. But needless to say, I succeeded. I changed my name to final semester. I moved my job. I took the opportunities to, really soak in psychology, and this all led up to my, my current lifestyle today, working in mental
Mm,
health. But to backtrack a bit, because I don't want to go too far, I
sure.
became an RA, I went through that process second semester of my freshman year. I did drop the ball in that sense once because I forgot to submit something on time, and I was really lackadaisical in that sense. Because I procrastinated, the job, I almost lost the RA job, but by some stroke of chin, literally last week of my first year as a first, somehow I had the opportunity to, and I'm just gonna say God, it's God, to become a summer RA. And from there, I became a
Mm,
full-time RA after that summer of 2018. And
mm,
then, I became a RA at the suites. We have two suites at Morehouse. They call it the East and the West suites. I was over in the West. Yeah, the West suites. And then from there, it's history. Started
mm.
working through the psychology department. I started, I pursued opportunities working with a great professor by the name of Dr. William Jackson, who actually went to school with Spike Lee and Samuel Jackson. And
Mm.
he kind of taught me the ropes of psychology, got me into research, and the rest is history. Got deep in psychology, realized I want to pursue, a DS. I got my BA, and, COVID came, and, it kind of went from there. But before I go too tangent, I don't want to go too much on the tangent. What are your questions before I go too far?
No, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I will share. Uh, we want to make sure we see your face, brother.
I got you.
All
My screen's been going though. This is funny thing. I guess it's the
right.
phone. I guess it's the phone. But
All good.
I'm gonna keep my thumb on it. I'm gonna keep it because I see when the screen kind of go dark and kind of cut my face. I'm like, okay, cool, cool.
All good. Yeah, bro. We want to see that black man smile, man. You're speaking some good stuff. This is it, right? This the collegiate journey, and right, this could happen whether you're at an HBCU or PWI or just another minority serving institution anywhere, right?
It goes.
Just these struggles of finding yourself, your identity, right? The struggles of just trying to have enough funds, right, financially, making the grades, right, and so you're speaking some real stuff, and like I said, I don't mind, just you sharing about all of those things. 'Cause I think it's so necessary for people to hear that, ultimately, and I say this, and I've said this when I was in college, but we know, hey, once you graduate high school, the decision to go to college is a choice. And so with that choice comes certain responsibilities that fall on you. You've got to wake up and go to these classes. You've got to get the grades for these classes, right? And pass these classes, hopefully, if that's what you're
Right.
wanting to do. In some cases, hey, you've got to pay for this, and that. And so being able to, and from what I hear you saying, right, being able to see your institution, in this case for you, see Morehouse College as you put it, a land of opportunity, right, and to tap into those opportunities to expose yourself to new experiences. but also what I heard you saying on the tail end, and we'll get into that, is tapping into the power of right friendships and mentorships, building your own community at Morehouse, and how that afforded you the opportunities and just the ability to move forward, right? And you shared that it was ultimately those experiences and relationships that carried you on to obviously right graduate school, which is where we met, and then even
Mhm.
where you are today and beyond. So I love all that. I do want to go back
Mhm.
to you spoke, Trey. You spoke earlier about a sort of like a pre-college program you went to. I think you said in elementary school.
Yes, it was called Project Identity.
Project
Um,
Identity, and you
yeah.
also right, and so you also talked about while you were at Morehouse, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said while you were at Morehouse, you were seeing other similar, like different programs for youth who were visiting the college. Is that correct? Am I correct in
Yes,
saying
during
that?
that summer, when I was in missile program, it was a pre-freshman STEM program, and
So,
that wasn't the only program they had going on campus.
mm,
Yeah.
okay. So let me ask you this. Right. ICU HBCU, we understand
Hmm.
that it's based on a book, and the book is an illustrated book that's geared towards youth. Um, Definitely younger than high school, even younger than middle school. Can you talk about what the significance of just learning about HBCUs from as young of an age as an elementary school student might be? What were the impact? What's the impact and or benefits of that? If you could name any, what comes to mind, and what came to mind for you?
Bringing it from my perspective, my lens, I'll say is reducing stigma of the
Hmm.
HBCU institution. A lot of people hear those four letters and they think to themselves, "What is that?" Historically Black college and university hits different when you actually be on campus as opposed to what you hear about it by word of mouth.
Hmm.
So when you talk about, especially with your book, ICU HBCUs, you have to think what I thought about at my age in fifth grade, just to bring it back to my perspective.
Sure.
I thought to myself, an all male institution, the Black men, it just didn't sound too appealing. I'm like, and I'm like, at fifth grade mindset, I'm like, where are the women? Or, where are our counterparts? Not even not in terms I'm thinking that in my head. It's probably I had some childish kitty words then. But I'm thinking to myself is what does it really mean for Black people to be in a space? That's what I thought initially. What
Hmm.
does it really mean for us to occupy the same space? What does it really mean for us to have goals set by the under the umbrella of different majors? I'm looking at myself like my future Morehouse College at fifth grade, and it goes fifth. When I'm entering the Morehouse in fifth grade, I'm just like, what is so special about this institution? And
Hmm.
Keyshawn, I'll tell you what I found special with it is that again, that big over opportunity. I recognize that this institution could impact people who are not even of age to pursue a post-secondary institution such as Morehouse College. They're giving young men the opportunity to better themselves. At that time, I was learning Chinese
Hmm.
at Morehouse. They also had like a chess course and things of that nature, and other exploratory programming for folks within my age. And it's like, and I'm thinking to myself, what does this really mean to me? And when I'm walking on the campus, I'm just like, everything kind of like I'm walking to the outside museum. It really goes to me and say, you know what? There's something more that meets the eye with the four letters HBCU.
Hmm.
And there's something more that meets the eye when you enter HBCU campus such as Morehouse College. You have to recognize, as you talk about that opportunity, Keyshawn, it's like, I say it's like walking through a space that how do I put this? I wouldn't say like walk through an abandoned mall. I would compare this to walking to maybe an open field. You know how some people may see an open field, other people may see a nice community, other
Hmm.
people may see a nice landscape. When I saw Morehouse, I did see an open field when I first got there, but if I was able to really get a better understanding of it, I saw that landscape of what it could be.
Hmm.
I saw that it could be my future. I saw that it could be my challenging arena. I saw for me, because I played tennis growing up in this Government Pass High School, I saw myself, shaking hands with my opponent and saying to myself, you know what? You may challenge me, but I tell you what, in this lovely land of opportunity, this court based opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put my best foot forward. So if you talk about what I saw in fifth grade in comparison to what I saw coming up in high school, I realized that it was a lot more to offer than just that field. It was a landscape. It was a bright view. It was a nice horizon. It's like there's so much more here to offer than just what you see initially. It's kind of like looking at a magic eyeball thing. That's how I would describe it. And
Mm,
so, as I developed my idea of what this HBCU was, what this experience was, I realized that it was the next step. It was the
yeah.
challenge I needed. It was the community I needed, and it was the family I never knew I would learn to grow with. And so that's what I noticed. You know, coming from fifth grade, in that program project identity. I thank God my parents got me involved in that. You know, it was Saturday, so I'm getting dropped up in the north on Saturday. It's like I could be at home watching cartoons. But if I had been at home watching cartoons, I probably just saw that it be that you know that open field without the opportunity initially. But that's what I saw when I developed my deeper, I would say my more clearer lens of what Morehouse was and what it meant to be on the HBCU campus, looking at it from a younger perspective and um, growing and developing and realize that there's more to these guys than just
Mm,
an older campus. There are people, there are communities, and there's also opportunity, not what you can see, but also the intangible items. That's what I got
mm,
from the Morehouse experience coming from that program project identity in fifth grade, then the summer 2017 going on.
right.
Yeah.
No, that's great, Trey. I'm hearing a little bit of glass half full. I'm hearing some open mindedness. I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
reimagining, and even right the having the courage, Trey, to like you said, challenge some of these possible preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke as you got into experiences around your first days and weeks on campus, of just seeing the black men and other black males around you talking the same, dressing in a similar fashion. But you said something really interesting. You said it seemed like although those things were happening, everyone
Mm-hmm.
seemed to have um, their own uniqueness. If I'm correct in saying that, and you also
Mm-hmm.
spoke about um, just the significance of building that intentional community and family on Morehouse's campus. Can you talk a little bit about how that diversity, right, which is what we're really getting at, despite there being so much uh, sameness, there was still diversity on campus. Can you talk about how that diversity played a part in you building your community, your family on campus?
It's funny you mentioned that you said that word diversity. I think of that when I think about those first weeks.
Hmm.
So at Morehouse, when you start as a freshman,
Hmm.
you get a very good idea of what it means to develop community. At Morehouse, we don't call them dorms. We call our residential building, we call them houses. Um, Excuse me for saying hall earlier, but it's cool.
All good.
I started my Morehouse, I would say my official Morehouse career at Brazil House. If you ever go to Morehouse College, it's the one up the top of the hill, right on Bench Street. I feel bad. I'm gonna say it's adjacent to Parson, but
Somebody's
it's a
screaming at you in the comments.
it's close to student movement, and I'm gonna say right student movement.
Okay.
It's right next to Archer. Yeah. So, anyways, not to put out the specific proximity, anyways, or specific location. That's why I developed that idea. I kid you not. So, and like most college experiences, you get roommates, and you never forget your first roommate.
Hmm.
I developed that idea not only at Brazil House, but it started in that summer program because I started off thinking about the people I started with, and I started off thinking about my roommate Dante here is,
Mm-hmm.
a very great, great engineer, civil engineer, I believe. Yep.
Dope.
And then I credit this also to my second first roommate, Larry Ashby, very great, I would say, entrepreneur. Trilogy is his clothing line, so look out for that on Instagram. I believe that's TR3LNOGY. And I look at these when I started with these roommates, they taught me a lot of things about myself. I learned how to share space. At home, I'm used to my own. You get into this college space, I'm just like, I'm sharing a space with somebody. That means we got to make sure we're taking care of the space.
Mm-hmm.
This is my side, this is their side. And with Dante, we had a very good dynamic. That was during the summer. We didn't have to really worry about much at the time when like everybody on campus. But when I got to the Hill House, with my first roommate, Larry, wow, Larry was a barber. So I'm in this space, I'm meeting new people. I'm down to introverts. Meeting people, I'm quiet. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
why this kid always quiet? I'm like, I'm just quiet. I mean, I observe, I just
Yeah.
can't enter space and be like, yeah, we can be cool. No, it took me a while. Well, it took me a while then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized Larry being a barber, he's cutting people. Say I met different people. At first, they like, why their roommate so quiet? We kind of talked. We got into a couple of sessions where we talked about different things like shows. Folks came into the room like video games. It's kind of like we had our own little, I would say, office space in that room.
Mm-hmm.
I did my work there. I studied there. We shared, great conversation about the Morehouse experience from the homecoming experience. Oh wow, that one was really what helped build community. That's how you learn, who you can party with and who you can't really party with. And I say that
Gotcha.
endearingly, party, I say who you can really work with. And it goes to feminine. Huh, who you can work with. And I say that to say, you learn that a lot of people don't really know how to manage themselves. And sometimes that's when that whole idea of opportunity again turned
Mm-hmm.
into initiative. And during that time, that's why I learned, yes, I can party, but it's also good to recognize knowing my limits as far as how far am I willing to go with this. Am I going to party and I'm going to put myself to the wayside, or am I going to bring it back? And so as I look at that experience, I look at my RAs that I experienced in Brigade House as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's see, Justin Payne, Ramon Dorado, I'm not thinking this last name. Israel Strickland, Mason Shipley, who else? Winston Odom, might not feel everybody. Anyways, a lot of RA. A lot of these folks are still in the idea of basically standing on business before standing on business, the hashtag today.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of them kind of, reinforce the idea of being accountable. Like, yeah, you can have fun, but more often than not, when we talk about these house meetings that we used to have, they used to always inform us to always like, be accountable, take care, look after one another. I got my brother's back, and so on and so forth. And as I think about those experiences I developed at the jail, I recognize and realize that this community is going deeper than I thought it would. I'm like, at first I thought you just gonna be some random neighbors. The brotherhood exists, but I thought they're gonna be like based off of neighbors. Little did I know, it will be a lot more deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And Morehouse, they had a lot of things. Morehouse is a very, how do I put this, ceremonial institution. And I say this in the strongest light to say that there are pageants, there are stroll competitions, especially in freshman houses. You
Mm-hmm.
have people learning how to do strolls. We have the fanfare. We have, we have a singer. We have, what do you call those people? We have sign. I mean, right now it looks like a gang sign, but at the end of this is a beef and we build. But at the end of the day, we had colors and so on and so forth. We had camaraderie, and
Yeah.
that's what I really enjoyed about it. We had things they call it the residential hall association. So we had a queen for our house. I believe that yep, Alana Beasley, Caitlin Jackson, I'm forgetting the last name, Taylor. So many great folks that we meet, and then at
Mm-hmm.
Morehouse as well. We had the brother sister exchange with Spelman, and so and during that time, that's when you're um not assigned, but we more so you're paired. with a Spelman's sister, and Spelman's sister Phil Miles' brother. And so at that time, we get to really get that idea of what it's like to really associate and respect women in a sense, where it's more so not saying that, a woman has to be next to us because that's the status quo, but we can work in partnership because we recognize as a pair, the brother sister pair, that
Mm-hmm.
we have some type of mutualism going on as far as, we can build up our brand, build our network, so on and so forth. And shout out to my first male Spelman sister, Taylor Clement. She taught me very much a lot about, respecting time, respecting boundaries, so on and so forth. But needless to say, that's how I got into that whole idea. And once upon a time, even at my residential house, we had a what do you call it? We had a court trial because sometimes things happen. And sometimes we can always say people can get some type of reprimand from the folks in the Department of Housing, but
Mm-hmm.
we decided as a house to have a court trial to handle the situation. Can't go too much in detail about it, but it was handled. Um, but needless to say, it was so much that I took from that first year, and that's what led me to become an RA. Just being able to build a community from just like, what did I want to see growing, coming through Morehouse in a residential space? Did I want to see the education piece? Did I want to inform people about things? Did I want to reduce some of the issues that folks? Did I want to be an advocate? And somehow, not somehow, by some shape, form, or God's plan, I'm sure, it led to my current future and currently working in social services. But that's another story for another day. And that's how I got into it, joining program orgs. I joined a mental health organization called Chill Counseling Healings and Life Lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I joined a community-based organization. It's called Do Better, and we did various community-based activities. I joined a group called ABC Speaks, Atlanta University Center Speaks, basically a public speaking organization, and I was able to help coach young black men at Delbar Elementary in public speaking.
Mm.
And also I had the opportunity to do some volunteer work, such as doing play works, where I had the opportunity to help, coordinate a field day and also help, make sure that it was supported as far as, where I could fit in. And I also had the opportunity to tutor folks at Manu Jackson High School during my freshman year. And then I went on to tutor at, I'm not forgetting this academy. It was a school at East Atlanta. I don't know why my mind is drawing a blank. But anyways, I had opportunity to tutor young kids. I'm just like, here's that whole thing about Morehouse, instilling dreams upon teachers, preachers, and dream seekers. I'm just like, I'm doing all of these things needed to say I'm the umbrella community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting help in getting these community activities from a great resource and great friend, dear friend and mentor, Tomanika Red. She was in the Department of Housing and all the different folks in housing as well. And I just say to myself, look at all these people assisting me becoming better and helping me develop myself. The Dean, Dean Twiddle, Dean Dawson, Dean Maxwell, Dean Turner, so many names go down on this. But needless to say, my community was built. Not only to my Morehouse brothers, my Spelman sister, I also reached out to schools because, in that area, Atlanta University Center, there's Clark, there's Spelman, there's ITC,
Mm-hmm.
National Theological Center, International Theological Center. And as I'm thinking about these things, I'm just like myself, there are so many people getting added to this story of this community of mine. My Spelman sister, then I got into deep relationship with my fellow Spelman sisters,
Mm-hmm.
where I found them in the sense, we took trips. We went to various places. We had different events at Morehouse. For Morehouse for Wednesday, we had Hump Wednesday, where we would have different, hip hop artists and different local
Dope.
black businesses show up and say, this is what I have and this is what I want to bring to the institution. There are opportunities to do modeling for various brands such as Shasta Collegiate, which I do own a duffel bag as well right now. But all this to say, it was so much opportunity and so much space to just say, ooh, what's that? And just to be curious and adventurous. Where I could say, I knew I could go this place, or I could turn to this person and say, I need questions. I have questions here and I need answers for this. And it wasn't like a thing where it was something that was just thrown in front of me, but it was something I had to seek. And
Mm,
so as I talk about building my community at Morehouse, I recognize that I'm able to say that I took some risk when I didn't feel like I wanted to take the risk. I felt nervous to take the risk. Like I said, again, I was gingerbread at the time. I barely wanted to go to parties. I barely wanted to go to the Hump Wednesdays. I mean, not to say that I was against it, but it was like something that I was still becoming used to because I'm like, that's why I didn't do parties and stuff like that.
mm,
So I'm getting into this community where I'm developing this idea of responsibility, accountability, agency, accountability, so on and so forth. And here I am to say, you know what? Let me allow people to enter my space. Just because they enter my space doesn't mean they have to be there forever. But at least while they're in the space that I'm occupying and sharing, we can at least learn something from each other, like a each one teach one situation.
mm.
So that's what I ultimately got from my experience. And while we talk about community, I joined awards. I learned about things as far as everything wasn't taught to me in the classroom. One of my good Morehouse brothers, credit Keith Davis, he was telling me, he got me back in the gym. And here I am today. I have a whole workout routine. A good
Mm,
brother of mine, Tariq Murphy, very great Morehouse brother of mine. He's taught me a lot about, various things such as marketing and also the retail scene in Atlanta. Um, I can the list goes on. Chris, he was on your episode before me.
yeah.
That individual there, we both from some RAs, and I'll be honest with you, we shared a space for a summer. We didn't know who each other was that whole summer, but somehow we ended up going to Michigan together. Working through the psychology department at Morehouse, and a lot of folks, we credit our experience as being damn good warriors, and I'm going to give that to my other Morehouse brother, Alex Harris. He also went to Michigan. Um, but needless to say, it wasn't just my Morehouse brother. It was also my folks I met at my Spelman sister. Jay Tarver, Nia Seps, and Logan Sam, folks at Clark, Deloya Hooper, a lot of folks, my good friend Brianna, my good friend Trinice, so on and so forth. Not to say that the list goes on, but needless to
Mm,
say, I've met so many great people at Morehouse. Even took the opportunity to meet a couple of celebrities I met. Didn't know at the time T Grizzly how big he was gonna be today, but yeah, T Grizzly. Um, I had LMA walk past me at a R&B concert. But all this to say, many experiences, many times, many places. The
yo.
HBCU experience really developed the idea of community that I didn't expect I was going to get. It's kind of like you buying I don't know, you buying something that nobody really sees at like a thrift store. It's
Mm,
one of those experiences you have to make your own as far as developing your community. It's not a cheap quality experience. It's a quality experience you have to develop based off of your interpretation of the
mm,
space and circumstance. And so this is why I am to say, the community aspect of Morehouse definitely deepened and also developed within me as I realized that a place that I called home was a lot bigger than what I expected it to be in a small space, which was Morehouse College. Because Morehouse is not the biggest HBCU institution, but it also speaks in volumes as far as the campus as itself as a whole.
mm.
Yeah,
Man, that's great stuff, Trey.
I
Just
appreciate it.
what I'm hearing, right? Just the intentionality of not just right you in the micro sense, but the
Mm,
institution in the meso and macro sense to
right.
instill this deep change in you all from the events that you talked about, the opportunities, right, going all the way back to elementary school, right, and what was it, Project Identity?
Yep, right below that.
Project Identity, and then right to even expand that with the variety of other Atlanta-based HBCUs in Spelman and Clark Atlanta, and the Theological Center, so on and so forth. Just the intention in that. That's powerful. And when I think about Black history in particular, understanding this, just the value of people power and community, and how it doesn't really matter where you at, right, as it relates to the Black community. It doesn't necessarily matter where you are, where you come from. but just having this shared understanding, these common goals, they can really bring people together and create long lasting transformations. I mean, you've been name dropping people since the beginning of the podcast, so I can tell
I know a lot of people.
right. Well, right. You know a lot of
The list
people.
goes on, so please don't shoot me in public if
No,
I mention.
hey, look, you know, Trey, you know a lot
Uh,
of people, but what we know a lot of people, and it just goes to show just the level of impact that this experience has had on you. And hey, I'm really glad that we got a chance to just hear all of the ins and outs of just your unique experience. And I know I've gotten some insights, some valuable insights from you, and I'm sure the viewers and listeners have gotten some as well. I want to ask you this. When you
mhm.
think about just the current state of and future of historically black colleges and or universities, what is needed in this moment to um, I've been figuring out a way to phrase this question, but here's how it's coming to me right now. What is needed to sort of level the playing field for HBCUs as it relates to um, them compared to other institutions?
It hit me when you hit me. You started the question. Authenticity.
Hmm.
Simply put, authenticity. And I say that to say allowing folks to be who they are, and also in that sense, recognize that every HBCU is different.
Hmm.
The culture at Morehouse is definitely going to be different from the culture at Howard, at Morgan State, at FAMU, Clark Atlanta, even though we're in similar areas.
Hmm.
Recognizing that each student, no matter what culture that's expressed, prevalent, whatever culture is expressed on a prevalent level, you have to recognize that these students, they're actually taking the time to invest into the institution. And also, and vice versa, the student investing in them. But as we talk about that word authenticity, as we talk about where HBCU, the direction they're going, and talk about going in the future, what I am noticing is we're seeing HBCU marketed in spaces and places where it's kind of like Nike's built an endorsement deal with this institution.
Hmm.
And I say shout out to Nike because the Terminators, I like the Wild Terminator. I got a pair of them. But needless to say, it's kind of like looking at it, and I'm not a big sports person, but how you look at college athletes in the NIL deals. You
Hmm.
can't, and I'm not saying that when we talk about these partnerships with these mass corporations and companies is necessarily negative, but when we talk about maintaining a sense of authenticity, we talk about still recognizing these individual folks at the institution as the individuals they are. As I said, and when we talked about earlier in this conversation, that diversity at Morehouse, it also exists at other institutions as well.
Yeah.
You will always find space where people will always be unique at their own values or elements, but that is not often explored within, as we talk about that lens, as we talk about that authenticity of these partnerships. And I have seen people I have seen people shape and form those partnerships where they can actually highlight the authenticity as opposed to the so-called, I would say, rivalries or the so-called stigmas of certain institutions. Yes,
Hmm.
HBCUs have great marching bands, but not every HBCU has the same type of marching band, the same culture, as we talk about it again. But as I talk about again, that authenticity, I just feel like recognizing students as who they are, recognizing that just because a student at Morehouse College, a student at Howard or FAM or Tuskegee or another HBCU, recognizing that these students there are investing in themselves for the future, not only for the benefit of themselves, but for the legacy
Hmm.
they hope to leave behind. And that's when I talk about that piece again, authenticity. Recognizing that, yes, we can go ahead and say that I want this HBCU, or yes, we can have this classic where, this company is sponsoring this classic with these two schools going against each other for a sporting event, so on and so forth. I say the authenticity again, just to say, make sure that as we talk about maintaining the brand of these institutions, that we talk about looking for the future, that students are represented for who they are and what they bring to the table. Not every school is going to have, as we talk about these stigmatized ideas, these businessmen, these fine doctors. When I say that, that should not always be the set stigma for what comes out of these institutions. There are also people that come out of these institutions that do bigger and greater things than just be desktop. And I'm not saying that doctor not important or business people are not important. I'm saying is there's more than ECI than what is stigmatized. And when we talk about from yesterday, telling the 10th. And as we talk about definitely depicting that authenticity, definitely giving a deeper lens to interview these students, interview these folks in their perspective, interview these families that send these students in the institution, because at the end of the day, the story is not written not only by the students themselves, but the people who are supporting them in that process. So as we talk about the future HBCU, let's talk more about the families. Let's get more of that grassroots process of how do these people get to these institutions. Not what is the legacy that they leave on the campus. What is the legacy they're bringing back from their hometown when they say they can come back to home and home doesn't seem so familiar? That's what I talk about authenticity. And that's what I find myself. Although I was 20 minutes from home, I still find myself still open to at least visit these spaces. Whether, again, in my experience, I finished Boston 3 years. So I did a lot of things a little bit quicker than some. So I went to Upward Bound at Atlanta Metropolitan State College. True, I attended that program. That's what got me motivated to do enrollment, which fast tracked my whole college experience. But needless to say, there were a lot more people who were rooting for me that gave me that motivation to say, you know what, this is what I want to do in my experience to make it authentic for me. And as we talk about the image of the authentic HBCU, it's always good to recognize that, yes, we do have these histories, these legacies, these notable alumni. But it is also the people who motivate us to continue on and persevere who we should also highlight to as we talk about maintaining that sense of authenticity. But that's my whole soapbox as far as something that can be propelled into the future ideas of HBCU, that word authenticity.
You talking good.
Appreciate it.
Drop the mic. Yeah, we
I can go for hours.
hey,
I
look,
kid you not.
we're going to.
We got a Morehouse
I'm
man on the line, so you know we talk for days. Y'all can't tell us much as the shirt says.
look. I'm stamping it now. We're going to have you back on the
Cool,
show.
cool.
I would love to do some sort of panel discussion. I talked with Christian about this too. Just some sort of panel discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what about. I don't know. Look, but we're stamping it now. I see that being a really fruitful discussion when we think about a lot of these larger macro challenges as it
Mm-hmm.
relates to just the sustainability of HBCUs. I mean, education in general, but we're focusing on HBCUs here, and ultimately the preservation of Black history, as it was and as it is and as it's going to be in the future. So, hey, Trey, you're a brother to me. I love you, man. We really appreciate you for, again, sharing your insight to your wisdom. Um, hey, it's been great. Thank you. Did you have any
Appreciate.
final words for the people?
I did. Again, thank you, Keyshawn, my good brother, for this opportunity.
Yeah, man.
Thank you to the folks who I did not mention because I named off a lot of people. But you know, as the saying goes, too
Yeah.
much is given, much is required, and the microphone's getting quite heavy, and I probably had this segment going for much more. But thank you all for the people who definitely propelled me from the beginning of my undergrad experience. That is family, friends, mentors, counselors, professors, just for disbelieving, because
Hmm.
ultimately, as I was saying, maintain the idea of authenticity. To be completely frank, a lot of this stuff would not be. I would not have dreamed to pursue these things if people hadn't encouraged me to say, you know what, maybe let's encourage them to say you want to do a great thing. Um,
Hmm.
and so we talk about that thing we talked about in the beginning, Keyshawn. That anxiety and that excitement.
Yeah.
I say if you have that feeling deep in your soul and this resonates with you from based off the word you just had in this conversation, I say run with it. As the saying goes, do it afraid, do it excited, do it anxious, do it a little mix of both. But as
Hmm.
we talk about going forward and that idea of being authentic, you don't develop that idea of who your authentic self is until you learn what it means to be excited yet anxious. And so that's what I encourage folks to do as we talk about continuing this conversation and future conversations when we talk about HT. I feel like that was the whole basis of them coming to fruition after slavery. That idea of doing something exciting yet anxiety inducing. And those are my final thoughts.
Hey, drop the mic. Trey Gates, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Enjoy life.